Hey y'all, Lauren Wandell here, aka The Fitlaw, coming to you to talk about my top 10 container hacks. You know these little containers that you've seen for 21 Day Fix, Country Heat, basically all of the Beachbody programs now? I'm going to explain to you my top 10 tips. So if you're watching this, you should already know the basics of the container system, but I'm going to tell you what my top 10 things were to get through this program. And I've done about four, I would say between 4 and 6 rounds. I honestly can't remember because it's been a while since I've done it, but I'm starting a new one soon, and so I'm really excited to kind of break these tips out again. Number one, you need to know your numbers. So make sure that you go through and you read that meal guide and you know how many of each container you can have. Beachbody now provides us with these little stickers that go on each specific container, and that little box right there is for you to write the number of containers that you have. So for me, I'm in the first bracket. I'd get a 3, and I would just write a little 3 in that box because I get 3 of these green containers throughout the day. I do them in dry erase marker. They do come off in the dishwasher, but I do them in dry erase because sometimes you do need to adjust your bracket. So for those of you who are in higher brackets, once you start losing weight, you will have to change it. So I would not write that in permanent marker, just a tip. But make sure that you know your numbers so that you can stay on track throughout your program. Number 2, know what your safe places are for eating out. So my go-to when I go out to eat is either Chipotle, because what they'll do is they will divide it into different, like you can get a burrito bowl and they'll divide it into different portions for you, and then you can take it home and portion everything out in your portion fix containers. Or if I'm going to a restaurant that I'm not familiar with, I usually just stick to protein and vegetables. So my red and my green container. I try to stick to these because I know that they're the safest. When you get into carbs, that's when you start getting those bigger portions, you know, like the American size portions that are 3 times the amount that you're supposed to be eating. So you really need to be careful with that. So I try really hard to stick to those 2 things. So when I go out to eat, I make sure that I stick to like chicken and vegetables or steak and vegetables or something along those lines. The other thing is just do your research. If you know where you're going ahead of time, pull the menu up online. 80% of restaurants have their menus online now, so just figure out what you're going to order before you go. Do not leave it to chance. And then the last thing for that is just avoid the bread, because if you're at Italian restaurants or a lot of other places, they will bring out bread, so just try to avoid that as well. Number 3, know your gray area foods. So there are a couple foods that I get a lot of questions on, especially with this program, because even though they have covered most of the foods on the container system and on those lists, it's not always super clear. So I'm going to go over my top gray area foods that I get questions on. The first one is pumpkin. Especially in fall, I always get questions on pumpkin. So here's the deciding factor of what container pumpkin will go in. If it is fresh pumpkin that you are cutting up and roasting yourself, it is considered a vegetable and it is a green container. If it is canned pumpkin or pumpkin with any kind of added sugar, it is a purple container because the sugar content is higher, just like fruit. You will put that in a purple container. This also goes for tomato sauces as well. Homemade tomato sauce, no sugar added, green container. Tomato sauces and tomato stuff that you'll find at the store is going to be a purple because a lot of times there is added sugar. So that's how you divide those up. The other thing I get questions on is greens. You say, do I measure it out cooked or do I measure it out raw? Spinach is the one that I mainly get questions on, and what I say is that this container is basically, if you cook down an entire bag of spinach, that would fit in here. Spinach wilts down and greens wilt down really, really far, so my rule is you can eat it full of cooked greens, but that's basically an entire bag of spinach. So I usually measure it out raw and then I throw it in a pan and we'll wilt it that way. So my recommendation personally is raw. However, in the book you can actually measure it out raw or cooked, so that's up to you. And maybe if you're a little bit hungrier, you cook it beforehand, okay? So those are my big gray area foods, and obviously if you have any other ones that you're unsure of, be sure to reach out to your coach and ask them about that. Number 4, know your meal plan and write a meal plan. Go on Pinterest, go on Google, and find a meal plan for your bracket. They are everywhere. You don't have to specifically use that meal plan, but it gives you a good guideline to work off of. So if you see the breakfast ideas and you don't necessarily like what they're using for their protein, it's a very easy swap to swap it out to a different protein. So if you're not a big fan of eggs, maybe you swap that eggs for Greek yogurt. Just get a good base to work off of. Maybe get 2 or 3 different meal plans and you could rotate them to make things interesting, because this is supposed to be something that fits in your everyday lifestyle. This is a sustainable meal plan that you can do for a very long time, so make sure that you have a good plan to follow. Number 5, make sure that you're tracking either on paper or on an app in your phone. Beachbody offers a free app for iPhone users, so go to your Apple Store and download the free app. Just type in 21 Day Fix Tracker, and that's the one I use for every program. For Android users, unfortunately, it's $2.99. I think it's well worth it. It's $3 to get tracking at the tip of your fingers. So I recommend getting that. If you're not a technologically savvy person, Beachbody also does have sheets that you can print out and you can manually track. Depending on your calorie bracket, they have sheets for every bracket that is in the meal plan. So you can print those out and track it that way. Number 6, make sure that you're mixing and matching your foods and your spices. Do not make this boring. You do not have to fill your entire green container with one type of vegetable. You could fill it half and half. I do peppers and onions all the time. You could do a medley of vegetables if you want. You can do the same thing with fruit. You could do mixed berries in here. It doesn't have to just be one type of fruit. Again, same thing with your red container. I've done surf and turf where I've done half of a portion of fish and half of a portion of steak. You can use this however you want. If you want to measure half containers, you totally can. Number 7, you need to be open to trying new things. So this is kind of going back to the mix and match. I highly recommend on your meal plan that you look for a few things that you wouldn't normally eat. I have tried so many new things because there's so many recipes that I found on Pinterest and on Google that are 21 Day Fix approved, and I would never usually put them in my normal meal plan, but because of this program I did, and I found new things. So please be open to trying new things and look always for recipes that are 21 Day Fix approved. Make sure that you start a Pinterest board because that's really easy to do and you can collect recipes there and then use them for your next round or for your next week when you're meal planning. Number 8, if you are still hungry, you may eat an extra green container. And this is from the creator herself. She has said this, so you can eat an extra green container. If you're still hungry, you can eat another red. And I saved this for last because protein and vegetables are going to be the least harmful. The things that are really going to hurt your progress are going to be carbs, fruit, extra things that are a lot more calories, right? Protein and vegetables you usually burn off first because they're not so high in carbohydrates. So that's why you say if you're still hungry, eat some of those first. Number 9, this is just a shopping list tip. One of the things that I've found for the entire plan for hacking the containers is stick to 3 things off of each list. Don't go crazy, don't overdo it, because honestly what happens is you're eating so many fresh foods that they tend to go bad. So try to stick to 3 things off of each list. It makes it a whole lot easier, and then you don't waste any food. And then you know what things you like and what things you don't, and you can adjust from there. Maybe you ate all the food and you had to go midway for your first, through your first week, then next time you can get a little bit more, but maybe you didn't go through all of it and then you can adjust accordingly. I think 3 is a pretty good in-between number to start with so that you're not overwhelmed, and because we want you to not only be eating all your food, but we want you to be saving money too. So that's a really good money saving tip as well. And the last and final thing is Shakeology and support. I am a huge believer that Shakeology in itself is its own support system. It has helped me so much with my cravings and other things too. So I make sure that I have that as one of my red containers every single day. I'm actually having it right now. I always have that on hand, and I always carry some packets with me as well. And then that goes with the support also. Make sure that you're involved in a support group, whether you have one through your coach or you find one online or you reach out to me and I get you in a support group. No matter what, make sure that you have a good support system, because weight loss and dieting and meal plans and all of these things are very hard. So make it easier on yourself and make sure that you have some support set up. I hope that you found these helpful. If you have any questions, please comment below or feel free to shoot me an email at thefitlaw@gmail.com or send me a message on my Facebook page, and I'd be happy to get in touch. If you have any other questions specifically about a program that would fit, you can also contact me at all of those places, and I would love to get you started on your own meal plan and fitness program. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.